I seem to recall Joe Biden celebrating on the White House the Inflation Reduction Act. So let me just give you a round of applause there, White House administration and Congress. The Dow Jones has dropped more than 400 points, breaking below 30,000 on fear that the Fed is overdoing its inflation fight. Hope y'all are paying attention. The economy is imploding. It's been imploding. We have a labor shortage. We got a food shortage. We got a materials shortage. And this is the worst part. My friends, there is a looming beer shortage. I'm not kidding. I hope you're ready for this one because they say beer is economy proof. They say beer is depression proof, whatever. Not anymore. That's the old saying, right? When people are sad, they drink. And when they're happy, they drink. So your best bet in economic hardship, open a bar because people want to drink either way. Yeah, there's a beer shortage. Or at least there's a looming beer shortage. So good luck. You know, a lot of you may be saying, see, I told you so to your friends, to your neighbors, and rightly so. Joe Biden and the Democrats put forth the Inflation Reduction Act. Is it doing anything? Now, to be fair, I know it's too soon. But come on. We're looking at a year and a half of a Biden administration, and the economy took a turn for the worse the moment Biden steps in. Now, I know a lot of people may be saying, see, that proves it was Trump. To a certain degree, I absolutely agree that Donald Trump played a role in some of the current, well, more so last year's economic issues. I mean, Trump was in favor of locking things down, and then eventually turned around, but didn't do a whole lot to try and help people. And people are saying he should have invoked more powers to try and preserve and save the economy. But, you know, Trump wasn't going to supersede the 9th and 10th Amendments. And that's the way it is. So it was under his watch. He could have gotten rid of Fauci. He could have brought in better guidance that could have impacted the states. Did he do it? No. But when you look at the data, right around the time that Joe Biden gets in, he enacts a bunch of executive orders, a plethora, a litany of documents, executive orders. And we see, I don't know, like Keystone getting shut down, fracking getting banned in certain areas. And this causes a speculative drive in the markets. People assuming that energy supplies will be dropping just say, OK, we're pulling out of our investments. The market drops. And then we hear all the leftist activists say, what do I care about Wall Street day traders? And it's like, bro, this is the retirement funds for old people. They invest in accounts. They put their money somewhere for retirement. And when this tanks, that means they are in trouble. This isn't just a bunch of rich people. Sure, you've got weirdo companies like BlackRock and Blackstone, Vanguard, State Street, etc. But there are regular people behind all of this. And that's the crazy thing that a lot of these activists don't seem to get. They think Wall Street is just a bunch of rich people making money for no reason. If that were the case, if day trading was just rich people getting rich off nothing, they'd be just taking money from each other. The money has to come from somewhere. Now, for a lot of these brokers, I guess they're taking fees from regular people. But the idea is these pro traders, I'm not a big fan of the day traders necessarily, but a lot of these guys are investing for, I don't know, firefighters and the now elderly. Yeah, so it's not a good thing the stuff's collapsing. What we're seeing across the board is brutal, and the pending shortages are what's truly scary. They're saying a global recession is coming. So I hope you have prepared to the best of your abilities. I know many on the left will mock you for preparing, but why would that stop you? You know, I'd love to be the guy building an ark, saying a storm is coming, and having everybody laugh and point. I feel like that's the real message of Noah's Ark, or at least a very important one. I see these memes where they're like mocking Noah's Ark as a story. It's like, bro, I never took it literally. I mean, maybe some people do. But for me, I saw the story of a guy who was like, hey, if you keep doing bad things, a really worse bad thing is going to happen. So I'm building a boat to get ready for the bad thing. And they all laughed at him. And they're like, you're an idiot. You're building a boat. And then he did. And then a flood happened. And then everybody died. It's a great story. Whether you believe it's true or not isn't the point. I mean, some people think it is. I'm telling you right now, maybe it won't get that bad. But sometimes I think about this because I've been talking about shortages and price increases. And then I think about how it's not been so bad out here. And then I'm like, oh, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I don't got to worry about the price of eggs. No, for real. Because we got chickens. Because chickens eat bugs. So make yourself as sustainable, as self-sufficient as possible, because the market's about to implode. And you can thank Joe Biden for that. But let's read the news. We got a bunch of updates. The rates are going up. The sterling is collapsing. This is crazy stuff. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member, because we need your support. YouTube recently put out this video series 2 weeks ago about how they're going to be censoring borderline content. What does that mean? Well, it's content that doesn't break the rules, but is borderline, so they're going to make sure nobody can see it. And of course, people have been complaining that they're not getting notifications for my content anymore. Surprise, surprise. Send an email to shadowbanned@timcast.com if you believe you're experiencing some kind of negative impact, you've been unsubscribed or something like that. If you were unsubscribed from the channel, if you're not getting notifications, because we're going to compile a lot of that and see if we can put together evidence of a pattern. At the same time, the most powerful thing you can do is just share this video. Be the notification. Resist the censorship. So long as we all decide what we want to watch and what we want to see, censorship from their algorithms will do nothing. Smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and become a member at timcast.com. Because in the event they do nuke us outright, with your support as members, we will not stop. Here's the first story. Dow drops 400 points. Stocks slumped on Friday and were on pace for another losing week as investors feared the Federal Reserve's aggressive hiking campaign to fight inflation will lead to an economic downturn. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell by 459 points or 1.53%, while the S&P 500 slid 1.7%. Friday marked the fourth negative session in a row for the major averages, with the Dow falling below its June closing low around the 30,000 mark. The Fed on Wednesday enacted another supersized rate hike of 75 basis points and indicated it would do another at its November meeting. Oh, man. Oh, that is brutal. Look, man, a lot of sales of property, it's done. Property values are going to tank. It's going to get bad. Your retirement funds, your equity, it's going down. Right now, we're looking at expanding the operation and what we can do here at Timcast. And we've got these people making ridiculous demands on property. And I'm like, bro, they just raised rates almost a whole point, a whole percentage point, and they're going to do it again. Yet you better sell if you want to sell. Otherwise, you will be locked in. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I think the reality is, typically, if you can brave the storm, you should, because we usually see, even after a major downturn, things tend to improve. Although for this past year, it's been particularly nightmarish. Take a look at this from Investors Business Daily. Dow Jones sells off ahead of Powell comments as recession fears mount. What is Powell going to do? Fed Chief Jerome Powell's comments at the Federal Reserve event in D.C. The early action threatened to extend the stock market's 3-day losing streak, and it did, putting the NASDAQ and S&P 500 on track for their 6th weekly drop in the past 7 weeks. We've been in a recession. They've been lying about it. Look at this one. This one makes me laugh. From September 21st, prepare for a long and ugly recession, says Dr. Doom, the economist who predicted the 2008 crash. Okay, we're in a recession. We're in it. Prepare for it to be long and ugly? All right, I guess. Here's Fortune.com reporting. With recession fears in the U.S. mounting, fears? Yo, we're in it. And blame Joe Biden. I just want to point out, this is apocalyptic for Joe Biden and the Democrats. We are like 40 days away from the midterm election. Early voting and mail-in voting is going to be starting. And with the economy already in the gutter, and with older people voting by mail and early, apocalyptic. They're just going to say, don't know, don't care, Republican, fix it. Economist Nouriel Roubini, a New York University professor and the CEO of Roubini Macro Associates, whose prescience of the 2007 and 2008 housing market crash earned him the nickname Dr. Doom, seems to have chosen a side. In an interview with Bloomberg this week, Roubini said that a recession is likely to hit the U.S. by the end of 2022, before spreading globally next year, conceivably lasting for the entirety of 2023. It's not going to be a short and shallow recession. It's going to be severe, long, and ugly. To fend off rising U.S. inflation, the Federal Reserve has implemented an aggressive series of interest rate hikes to put the brakes on the economy, The goal is to engineer a soft landing where inflation returns to the Fed's target of 2% annual rate without triggering a prolonged economic downturn or significant rise in unemployment. But with the current economic climate, the Fed's soft landing goal is mission impossible, according to Robini, who sees the rapid rise in both corporate and government debt over the past years as a damning indicator. Robini said the environment created by rising interest rates does not bode well for the rising levels of global debt amassed in the wake of the pandemic. As lending rates continue to increase, as the Federal Reserve has signaled they will, it could create a growing number of so-called zombie companies, firms that formed during the pre and early pandemic era of easy credit, but are now stumbling along, unable to turn a profit or finance their debts. Many zombie institutions, zombie households, corporates, banks, shadow banks, and zombie countries are going to die as rates continue rising. What's the worst case scenario? Well, I think we're in it. And before I read this, let me just say, you best start believing in Bidenflation. You're experiencing it. Despite interest rate hike after interest rate hike, Robini said that inflation in the U.S. could persist due to rippling supply chain shocks from the pandemic, the ongoing consequence of the Ukraine war, and China's zero COVID policy continuing to slow economic activity in the country. The combination of low economic growth and unyielding inflation could lead to a global worst-case scenario of 1970s-style stagflation. Robini warned where prices remain high, but economies stagnate anyway. Institutions, including the World Bank, have warned multiple times this year that a return to the 1970s stagflation remains a serious concern for the global economy. Labor shortages. You guys know that we've been trying to set up Freedomistan. That's the name of our new headquarters. Freedomistan. It means place of freedom. We have a cool flag. It's like a yellow flag with a chicken head and a shield. It's like a crest, but it's a chicken. It's fantastic. We're going to be building a new chicken city. The only problem is we're a year delayed. A year now. Why? Supplies and labor. Impossible to get. We have the funding. And we're looking for people saying, will you work? And they go, no. And I don't understand why. Further, we find some people and they're like, yeah, I'll work. And it's like, okay, let's do it. And they're like, we don't have any steel. And I'm like, ugh. So how do we build it? I don't know. Wait. That's all you can do. It's not even about individuals. It's not about, whether or not you have the labor. It's whether or not people could work if they wanted to. And so this is where we're at. And I think for the most part, it's thanks to Joe Biden. Take a look at this from tradingeconomics.com. Look at the day. Today, it's so far been a bloodbath in top stocks. Look at this. Has anyone seen any improvement in these top stocks? No. Look at this. This is crazy. Right now, we're at 29,367, lower than the previous worst point of 29,933. That's it. Everything since the start of the Biden presidency has been wiped out. Y'all were warned. I mean, I think most of you knew. Most of you probably didn't vote for Joe Biden. But why don't you go and tell all your friends and family I told you so? Now, I want to give a shout out to some of our successful friends this year. United Health, up 25.46%. Huh. United Health is way up. Well, I don't know exactly what they do, but I have to imagine that maybe something having to do with a pandemic helped them. Chevron is up 44, despite being down for the day. Merck. Yeah, they're a major pharmaceutical. They're doing all right. Coca-Cola seems to be doing fairly well. Hey, good for them. Hey, look, Home Depot is up today, 0.02. That's great. Hey, our good friends over at Woke Walt Disney, they're down 43%. Intel down 49%. It has been a bad year. So I have some stocks, not a whole lot, but I have some. And I'm way down. I think I'm down like 40%. It's just across the board. I don't know. Some of them are doing really, really well. I recently sold at a loss a handful of stocks and I bought into Rumble, which is trading at RUM. Because I just think they have a better business model to a certain degree. I don't completely trust their plans, but I have enough confidence that I bought a decent amount of Rumble stock. It's trading at like $12. So we'll see. Considering all this, I'm not sure it's going to go up. But hey, baby, here we go. CNBC, Fed raises rates by another 0.75 percentage point, pledges more hikes to fight inflation. Okay. If you haven't prepared now, I don't know what to tell you, because inflation is only going to get worse. This ain't going to do anything. All this is doing is hurting the economy. It's kind of crazy. The inflation that we're seeing, at the same time, a stagnation. It's genuinely crazy. A recession with inflation. Ooh, stagflation. Around the world, they try to say that it's Vladimir Putin's fault. The pound plunges through 1.09 as former U.S. Treasury Secretary blasts naive UK policies in mini budget as it happened. Congratulations, UK. You're near dollar parity. Now, I wonder, there's been long-standing conspiracy theories as a goal to sort of stabilize all currencies around the dollar. Alex Jones talked about it a while ago. I'm not saying he's correct. The idea was to normalize the North American economy. For a while, I think the Canadian dollar was like $2 to the US dollar or something like that. I don't know what the actual exchange rate was, but then it dropped and then it became fairly comparable. And Alex Jones was talking about how what they want to do is you've got the American economy really strong, and you've got Canada, and then you got Mexico. You need to normalize all of it. Bring up Mexico's, the Mexican peso up to the Canadian dollar, to the American dollar. Then you can implement a single economic bloc. During the formation of the European Union, I heard stories from good friends in Spain, and they said that before the EU, they used the peseta. That was the Spanish currency. And if you wanted a newspaper, it was 1 peseta. So you'd come out in the morning, you'd take your peseta, you'd buy your newspaper. Overnight, the euro was implemented. And a newspaper was then €1. The only problem was that a peseta was only a third of a euro. So that means for the average person, the cost of a newspaper tripled overnight. That shock to the system caused an economic crisis. The same was true for many other places. Who benefited? Well, Germany benefited greatly. That shocked the system. So since then, there's been this theory, and that's probably where Alex Jones got the idea, that powerful elites, before they can implement a unified economic bloc, need to stabilize the currencies. Then they can change it. Otherwise, you'll cause problems. Maybe it'll be Bitcoin. Maybe it'll be some kind of crypto. Maybe it'll be Fed coin. I don't know. But look at this now. The pound is nearing dollar parity. The euro slides to a 20-year low as right-wing party poised to win Italian elections. I love that. They're like, it's what do these things have to do with each other? They say that the euro is trading below 98 cents to the US dollar. We're nearing parity. Parity, not parody, although I do think much of this is ripe for parity. So what happens? Once these things hit $1, do we lock them in as a single currency? Do we then say start using the dollar? Probably not. I think it's a bit too over the top to believe. But the parity will have an impact on trade relations and the economy. In fact, it may make it unrealistic to transport goods over the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know exactly how this will play out or why it's playing out. I can only tell you this. Shortages are coming and you're going to feel it. Understanding America's labor shortage, the most impacted industries, they say transportation, healthcare, and social assistance, and accommodation and food sectors have had the highest numbers of job openings. You know what the crazy thing is? I was reading how there's like an aluminum plant that produces like 20% of U.S. aluminum. They shut down. The cost of electricity was too great. So you know what we do? I'm not kidding. All of our aluminum cans, we save them. We're out in the middle of nowhere. So we can recycle it. I don't know exactly what we'll do with it, but I'm telling you, we've, for fun mostly, been smelting them down into aluminum ingots. Now, first and foremost, it's just silly fun. I bought a crucible and a kiln a while ago, and so we just have these things for fun. And I don't know who did it. Might be my brother. But they took cans, they melted them down and then shaped them into just aluminum ingots. Very light, by the way. Aluminum used to be, or for our British friends, aluminium, the most expensive material. It was more valuable than like gold. Now it's not so much. But with these plants shutting down, it'll be great to have these things available. I don't know exactly what we'll do with it, but, we're recycling with it, I suppose. We're seeing labor shortages across the board. And now we've got Janet Yellen directing the IRS to embark on an $80 billion overhaul plan. Not only are you going to make less money, not only are you going to have trouble finding work and buying goods 87,000 new IRS agents are going to be coming to extract what little bit you have. You know why? Because you will own nothing and you will be happy. Me, on the other hand, and the other wealthy elites. Oh, well, I say that somewhat facetiously. You know, I'm blessed with the job that I have and the success we've had. And I'm not blind to it. But the reality is this. Rich people are not going to suffer under this. The poor people are. Now, for me, I'm kind of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't do this and you should let the people have what they have. We should be cutting taxes and making sure people have more money to spend. No. They want to cool the economy. So they're raising interest rates so you can't buy things. And then they're going to go into your $600 bank account and they're going to squeeze whatever they can out of it. And they're going to look you in the eyes as they do it. And they're going to say, you should not be buying those sugary drinks because you don't know what's right for you. That's what they think. We heard Bloomberg say it. And that's where we're going. Yeah, you think they're going to let you buy beer? We have this story. Cool Plaz. I don't know why it says Cool Plaz. It's cached from time.com. Why a beer shortage is brewing in the U.S. I hope you're ready for this, because this is the one where I think it's really going to get spicy. You think people are mad? Wait till they can't buy a beer. They say beer and meat lovers might have a difficult time getting their favorite products this fall. That's because there's a shortage of carbon dioxide in the U.S., leading to complications at a number of breweries and food suppliers across the country. Food and beverage companies such as Tyson and Kraft Heinz have been scrambling to find suppliers of the gas, which is used for putting fizz into drinks and freezing frozen meats and pizzas. Some local breweries have even had to suspend operations at their facilities because of the shortage. That could mean fewer jobs and higher beer prices. What's causing it? A number of factors, they say. Maintenance shutdowns of CO2 plants and general summer demand for drinks are the most likely culprit. While many of the specific issues in the market are new, CO2 has experienced various supply chain challenges since the beginning of the pandemic. The Brewers Association said in a statement, this is one of the many areas where small brewers are facing cost increases and availability issues. They're going to take away your beer, my friends. They are actively taking away your beer. Oh, man, people are going to lose their minds. Hey, but it is what it is. It's the world that we currently live in. I think it's funny. I can come out and be like, there's going to be a chicken shortage. And people go, I'll eat beef. There's going to be a beef shortage. We already saw this. I saw one barbecue shop said they weren't carrying brisket anymore because it was too expensive. I talked about it last year. And they go, whatever, I'll eat pork. Yo, you're going to be eating bugs. You're going to be drinking scuzzy water. And you'll be happy. How are they going to do it? That's what I wonder. But a transformation is upon us. And I think it has a lot to do with the climate change people. But I think they're liars. I think they're lying about their concerns over climate change because they fly in private jets. They eat their fresh meats and their Wagyu beef imported from Japan. And then they claim you should be eating bugs, not drinking beer, owning nothing, and being happy. It is the world that we are in. Inflation remains voters' top concern. Can Republicans keep their focus? I don't think it matters, to be completely honest. I don't think it matters at all. I think if the Republicans get in, you'll see a Marjorie Taylor Greene or a Thomas Massey calling out the lies and the manipulations. Unfortunately, half the Republicans are going to be shills, and then Democrats will be as well. Now, I think it's important if we can get the majority of Republicans to be MAGA Republicans, then the other half of the Republican Party, it won't matter. The corporate shills, the establishment uniparty types, they'll have no power. They'll be forced to just fall in line. But here's the challenge. If the Republicans win by, say, 10 seats and they hold a narrow majority, 10 Republicans that are establishment shills will just defect and be like, these MAGA extremists need to be stopped. So we're real Republicans, but we're going to go vote with Democrats, like Liz Cheney. Yeah, she's not a Republican. She's an establishment uniparty shill. Always been. Kinzinger, look at him. He dropped to his knees to fillet the state, and they booted him out, gerrymandered his district away, and said, oh, God, it's trying to touch me. Kinzinger thought that if he bowed and licked the feet, they'd spare him, and they didn't. Bye-bye. No, only when you stand up and stand firm can you resist. Do you want to live in the pods and eat the bugs? That's entirely up to you, I guess. Me personally, I'll be honest. I got no problem living in a pod. No, I do mean it. Hear me out. I've mentioned this. If I'm in a little treehouse pod overlooking a beautiful lake, clean and warm, and you got to eat the bugs, well, you got to eat the bugs. But I wouldn't eat it by choice. I wouldn't mind living in a tiny little small home near a river. That sounds very minimalist and soothing. When you own things, your things end up owning you. And I appreciate a bit of that minimalism, despite the fact having this massive castle in operation going on. I wouldn't freak out over it, but I don't want anyone to be forced to do it. And also, it's easy to say live in the pod when you don't have a family. So for people who have families, you might need something a little bit bigger than that. But what I would prefer to do is not eat the bugs. I'll just get some chickens. The chickens can eat the bugs, and then I'll eat the chickens. How does that sound? Now, I guess sustaining chicken life requires more bugs, but they just graze all day, eating grass and bugs and other vegetation. We have these funny little weeds. I don't know what they are, but man, the chickens go nuts for them. They just eat them and gobble them up. Good for you, chickens. Eat it all. I'm not going to eat it, but I'll eat you. So why would I want to eat the bugs? I guess my vision of living in a pod would be like it's a tree house. That'd be pretty cool. Like you're up real high, you're looking outside. You're like, this is a great place. But the reality is it's being forced upon everybody. Climate change zealots clearly want to lock everything down. We're already seeing climate lockdowns happen. We are seeing, I think Belgium just announced they're going to be shutting down a nuclear power plant. Why? There's an energy crisis happening in Europe that's destroying their economy. It almost feels like it's on purpose. I look at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, and then I look to the powers that be, and clearly they will not let a good crisis go to waste. So they're telling farmers in the Netherlands to stop farming. Why? There's going to be a food shortage. They're shutting down nuclear power plants over and over again, despite the fact there's an energy shortage, because they want less people. Simply put. And this is the path to accomplishing that. Now, America may be the last bastion, the last defense, but certainly we have our elements. We have our zealots in government, in media. We have the cult. And they tell you to sacrifice. They light the economy on fire, destroying your life. And then they buy beachfront property, despite warnings of floods. They fly in private planes, despite telling you to turn your lights off. And they justify it. They're not completely wrong in their math. Look, if you have 1 million people and you banned all of the private planes used by those 1 million people, nothing would change. You have, 700 billionaires or something like that? You take away their private planes, it will have no impact on the climate. But you ban the travel for 7 billion people, and then, yes, that will have an impact on carbon. And so these wealthy people are like, why should I give up my private plane? I barely contribute at all. There should be private planes for rich people, but no planes for poor people. That's the problem. Maybe they lament the fact that capitalism worked, and it's why they want communism. Today, poor people in the United States have refrigerators, air conditioners, clean running water, hot water. And despite the fact that our medical system is far from perfect, if you go to the doctor, if you go to the emergency room with serious injuries, they have to treat you. And then if you don't pay them, it's just on them. And they got to find ways to get reimbursed or something. Imperfect. I'm not saying it's great. But poor people in this country have tremendous wealth relative to where things used to be. Air conditioning. That's right. If you're poor and you're in low-income housing, you're not always, but many will have air conditioning. That's kind of crazy to me. The fact that you can go to you can go on Craigslist and get for $20 get a wall unit air conditioner. But let's say even outside, let's say you don't have air conditioning. You've got clean running water and a refrigerator comes standard. It's crazy, isn't it? I went to a couple weekends ago. Was it last weekend? Yeah, I went to Stonewall Jackson's house. And you heard me mention this before in a previous segment. And they said up here is the pantry. It was right above the winter kitchen, they called it. And there was a tiny stair set, a spiral like in the wall that you'd go up to the pantry. And he was like, in here, they'd have meats hanging that were smoked and salted for storage. That's crazy. I'm just thinking about it, like a room in your house with meat just hanging there Like, for how long could it just hang there? I tell you this, if it started to turn, you'd probably still eat it. These days, you can be poor and you're going to have a refrigerator because we got a lot of them. Man, it's just so crazy. Well, I think they regret the fact that they've given the poors this opportunity. And because of it, people had more kids. And now there's too many. I think they want to go back to a world, and by they, I mean just generally wealthy, well-off, elitist individuals. They want to go back to a world of feudalism, where the nobles are the ones that deal with everything and the serfs keep their mouths shut, don't learn to read, and just pull the levers. Till the land, make the food, we'll deal with the more complicated matters, because we are better men. Me? I like decentralization better. I think that if everybody is given access, then you will have a meritocratic system which results in a rising tide for all ships. But that's the issue. That benefits poor people. And unfortunately, it benefits stupid people too. Maybe it's just an emergent phenomenon, though. When the smart people decide they're going to work on systems to benefit everyone, it invariably will benefit the stupid people. The stupid people will then procreate and then start gaining a voting majority. And when they do vote, they vote to destroy the system. Hey, an endless cycle, I guess. I think in the end, those that are smart enough to see what's going on with the Democrats and Biden and inflation have prepared. And chance favors the prepared. So when everything goes south and everything gets bad, you will be fine. But the people who are stupid, who vote for this, who aren't paying attention, well, they're going to be caught with their pants down. To every one of these people who laughed at me when I said, hey, maybe you should have emergency food, those people will be the first to beg you, please. I'm so hungry. Just give me one bag of dried macaroni and cheese. And you're going to say, get off my property. Because you're going to need that food for yourself, for your kids, for your family. The gag I say is that as the economy gets worse and worse, one of these days there's going to be a dude in flannels with flannel with suspenders, folded up cuffs, and a handlebar mustache trying to steal one of my chickens. And I'm going to be like, get off my property. And he goes, I'm just so hungry. I don't eat anything. No. And then we just, bye-bye. Catch a squirrel if you're lucky. Because I can't sustain you. You had the opportunity to vote right and protect yourself, and you didn't. Let's see how long you can last. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up tonight at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.